Yo! Well, everyone is focused on the Fed rate cut that is happening today. Anticipated, they're dropping it down by 25 basis points. That will most likely come in the next 3 hours. 99% prediction on Polymarket that it's happening. We have Anthony Pompliano calling for a 50 basis points cut, but everyone's expecting a 25 basis point cut. And of course, it's extremely bullish for the Bitcoin market. There's a new leak coming out of the Fed that Arthur Hayes believes could send Bitcoin potentially to $1 million per coin, but it's not for the reasons you might think. Before we unpack this fascinating prediction by Arthur Hayes, let us remind you what Arthur Hayes believes about Bitcoin. Let's check out.
Trump is going to spend more money. Trump is going to spend more money, have a bigger deficit than Biden. It's just math and the priorities of the administration. And so I can see Bitcoin going up 10x from here to $1 million by 2028, especially if we get a change in sort of the Fed and they come back on side and they do quantitative easing, they start cutting rates. And, as you said, Powell's term ends in May 2026. Everyone believes that Kevin Warsh will be the next Fed governor, and he's gone on record basically saying the Fed is not independent. The Fed should do whatever the president and the politicians want, which means print the money, give more of it to the system to act as stimulus. And so I see an acceleration of money printing and fiscal debasement in May 26 onwards. And that's probably when we get the sort of crazy runs in Bitcoin and other sort of fixed supply assets.
Absolutely. And this is kind of his thesis, right? Trump is trying to take over the Federal Reserve. You saw Federal Reserve governor resign earlier on this year. We got another Federal Reserve governor who Trump asked her to resign via a letter, basically accusing her of mortgage fraud. There's currently a litigation. She refuses to step down. But the TLDR is this: Powell's term is over next year, and Trump is trying to take over the Fed. And what do you think he's going to use the Fed? What do you think he's going to use the Fed for? He's going to pump his bags. That's exactly what he's going to use the Fed for. I mean, you saw his son literally pressing the button on Wall Street, ABTC going public. President Trump owns 50% of the 6th largest Bitcoin treasury company in the world. And of course, we got our in-house macro expert, Opti, to do a deeper dive into all of this. But we got a very special guest joining us today. We got the one, the only Bitcoin Ben, managing partner of Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club in the house. Ben's a legend. He's been opening these clubs all over the United States. He's opening resorts in El Salvador, and he opened the first Bitcoin native bank in El Salvador. We're going to be talking about that. It's called Private Key Bank during the culture segment. You guys are going to want to hear it. But Opti, I'm going to pass the baton on to you, my friend. You became a macro expert, bro, all of a sudden. I don't know where it came from, but let's do a deeper dive into what we're talking about regarding Arthur Hayes.
Yeah, guys. So you guys know, some of you love the macro stuff. Some of you are trolling me on the macro stuff. But as has become more obvious recently, sorry, this should not be here. We have to acknowledge what's going on here. Let me pull myself up for a little bit. We have to acknowledge what's going on in the macro landscape because it is starting to impact Bitcoin now that it's growing up. Now that Bitcoin's maturing, there is a lot of correlation between Bitcoin and the macro markets because the new investor in Bitcoin, the institutions coming in, they're waiting for these signals before they start to deploy capital. And I know everyone's talking about the rate cuts that are probably going to happen today. I think the only debate up right now is just how much they're going to cut. We've seen 25 bips be considered. People are talking about 50 bips. We even had Trump say 100 bip cut. If they do that would be insane for the markets. But pulling back a little bit, we did see this, and like Nico's been saying, we are seeing from the Trump administration that there is a fight going on right now from the Treasury and the Fed. There has been a lot of conversations around the Fed's independence. There's been articles about titled, the myth of the Fed independence. And now we're seeing a lot of people being appointed under Trump that obviously are going to follow his mandate of cutting the rates, having a little bit of easier money coming back on the table. You could argue maybe bringing back quantitative easing. Well, earlier this week, Trump's pick, Stephen Miran, is officially confirmed as the Federal Reserve governor. Again, if Powell does leave early next year, or, there's a whole conversation of whether Trump can fire these Fed board governors, it looks like Trump is packing the Fed board with more people aligned with what he's thinking. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because he said something very interesting this morning that I think is showing us what is coming down the pipeline, exactly what they're trying to do. And it is this Bloomberg, the Bloomberg terminal leak here. So this title is absolutely insane to see what's going on. It really is breaking the myth of the Fed being independent, and it's really leading down the idea of the Fed being subservient to the U.S. Treasury. And if Trump is able to do this, it's going to be a complete monetary reordering that we've never seen before. We haven't seen this for hundreds of years. And if this takes place, it's going to be very interesting what's going on. The short of it is, of course, it's going to be bullish for Bitcoin. Anyways, it reads like this. Fed, quote, third mandate forces bond traders to rethink age-old rules. Again, they are rethinking the rules that everyone is basing their investment strategies on. And this is where it gets interesting, because Nika always harps on this idea of the double mandate of the Fed. What are they doing? If this is their mandate, then are they failing at that mandate, or do they not really care anymore? Anyways, reading this a little more, the Federal Reserve's dual mandate of price stability and maximum employment may be supplemented by a third mandate to pursue, quote, moderate long-term interest rates, as cited by Donald Trump's pick for Fed Governor Stephen Miran. The mention of the, quote, third mandate has sparked debate among analysts, with some seeing it as a sign that the administration intends to wield monetary policy to influence longer-term bond yields. The potential for the Treasury and Fed to intervene in the bond market to bring down long-dated interest rates has raised concern about the risk of adverse effects, particularly inflation and, quote, the erosion of the Fed's independence. And so, as Arthur Hayes said, this is where it starts to get really interesting. With Fed board member Moran now confirmed, the mainstream media is preparing the world for the Fed's, quote, third mandate, which is essentially yield curve control. And if this comes in, he just goes LFG, yield curve control, sends Bitcoin to $1 million. And remember, he's been predicting this for a while. He's saying by the end of Trump's administration, we know what they want to do. They're going to print money. They want to lower interest rates. And now if we see this yield curve control coming, it's going to be very interesting, because no longer are the interest rates going to be set by people that are interested in these bonds. This is going to be a top-down mandate, which we've seen what's happened in Japan. This is where, it starts to get very interesting with what's going on. It's essentially no longer is there a, quote, free market in interest rates and bonds. It's a top-down control, and they're going to set the rates. They're going to do whatever they can to keep those rates, which essentially means they're going to print more money. So as they target these interest rates across the bond market, especially the long-term government bonds, you're going to see that they will continue to print money. Of course, they're going to do whatever they can to incentivize people to buy these rates, and of course, keep those rates at whatever they want them to be, which is starting to lead into more interesting conversations around Bitcoin. Of course, if the investors are no longer setting the rates and the central banks basically rig the entire curve to keep the government solvent, what do you think is going to happen to hard assets? And this is where Bitcoin really will shine. We've seen what's happened in gold recently. Gold's pumping because people are pulling back from treasuries. It's starting to look like gold is becoming the world reserve currency again, or world reserve asset again. As central banks drop treasuries, they don't want the treasuries. They want hard assets. And of course, usually gold is that hedge. And for you guys out there, maybe you're like, eyes are glossing over. You're like, I'm a Bitcoiner because I don't care about what the Fed does. I'm a Bitcoiner because I just want to save in something that cannot get destroyed. Well, if they do implement a yield curve control, this essentially destroys all believers out there. This is why Bitcoin is going to rip, because Bitcoin is standing outside of the manipulation. You can't control Bitcoin's yield pretty much. You can't suppress Bitcoin's yield. The monetary order or the monetary policy of Bitcoin is set by the algorithm. So this is all setting up to what we are been saying for a while is a super cycle of money printing. If this all plays out and we do see interest rates later today get cut, well, agreed. I'm leaving. We still don't know. I just saw this morning UK is saying they're going to keep interest rates the same. Who knows? We might get something out of left field and they don't cut rates, but it's pretty much predicted. I think the markets are pricing in they're going to cut rates. The conversation hasn't really been, are they going to cut rates? It's just how much are they going to cut rates, which is going to give us a lot of signal because we're still going to have probably some short-term volatility. So right now, if you're a Bitcoiner, probably being leveraged on either short or long right now is not a good move, just being spot Bitcoin. That's the safest bet to have right now is just buy spot, hodl, because we don't know what's going to happen. There could be some volatility either way today. Who knows what's going to happen in a couple of hours. But as Nico's saying, we do probably know they're going to cut rates.
I think it's going to rip, my friend. I think it's going to rip. I think they're finally going to.
I'm the bear on today's show.
I think they're finally going to cut rates. I think the reason as to why Bitcoin has been quote unquote underperforming this year is because of just, the Fed stance, right? And it's so interesting because they have been acting a little bit politically. We know that they helped a little bit try to get the previous administration reelected. And now under the Trump administration, they've been a lot more hostile. They obviously don't want him to look good going into the midterms. That's my personal interpretation of it. I have other much smarter people kind of agreeing with me on this. And I don't think the Federal Reserve is acting as an independent, bipartisan institution. I think it's been acting in a very partisan fashion. And I think this is the reason as to why Trump is trying to clear house. Now, let's take a look at the poly market odds. I love the betting markets. The betting markets, when you have skin in the game, you tend to get things right. So the betting markets are very, very accurate at kind of predicting things. They were more accurate at predicting predicting the outcome of the election than any of the pollsters. So that's why I like looking at the betting markets. And right now, it looks like Polymarket believes that there's a 93% chance that there will be a 25 basis points decrease and a 6% chance that there will be a 50 basis points decrease. Now, if the 50 basis points decrease happens, which I think is highly unlikely, we're going to see a pump like we've never seen before, bro. The dopamine's gonna come back. It's gonna feel fantastic. I can't wait.
I think long term, you're right, Nico. I'm a little hesitant on today. What's going to happen? We're probably going to see some volatility.
I can't wait, bro. So Jerome Powell, do us a solid.
Long term, we're good. All right, Nico.
The rates by 50 basis points.
Let's go 100.
Just do it. Pump our bags.
Let's go 100 bits. Let's go 100 bits.
Thanks, Daddy Powell. We're looking at you. We're looking at you.
Yeah. All right, Nico. Let's wrap this up right here, and then let's bring Ben in because I'm sure last time we were talking, Ben, you were talking all about this. So we'll give you the floor in a minute. Just to wrap this up, guys. This essentially resembles a form of quote financial repression by another name, and of course is essentially yield curve control. And if the price of money is coming under tighter controls because the age-old balance between capital and labor, between debt and GDP has become unstable, Bitcoin stands to absorb massive capital as the preferred hedge against the global financial system. And we all know exactly what the Trump administration wants. They've been saying this for a while. They want to, decrease the dollar dominance. So they don't say this outright, but we've seen based their actions, as we covered yesterday, Dixie's down 10% this year. They want to lower interest rates, and they're going to implement yield curve control, guys. You know what that means? It means the money printer is going into overdrive, guys. So you want to be set in an asset or in a money that they cannot debase, which, as we've been covering all year long, it's obviously Bitcoin. We're seeing gold rip. Bitcoin's most likely going to rip harder than gold. So look, I know if you're not in Bitcoin, like, you should probably feel a little concerned for your friends and family at this point. If this mandate is officially what they're doing, they're basically saying, yeah, we're going to destroy everyone's savings because, as Lynn Alden's been saying, we have to print. We have to continue this train. There's nothing that can stop this. So a lot of people will get hurt here. If they debase the currency this much, if the money printers come on this strong, a lot of people's savings are going to get demolished right now, which is why you need some Bitcoin. This is why you need to tell your friends and family to hold Bitcoin, because they've been telegraphing their moves consistently all year long, what they're going to do. And now we just got a new mandate out here that they're like, yeah, we're going to control the interest rates. Our first two mandates of, what is it, inflation and unemployment, that's out the window right now. So things are changing. The monetary reordering is happening in real time, and the Fed themselves are saying this. So it's going to be very interesting what Jerome Powell says later. I know everyone's going to be reading his body language. Is he going to look like a prisoner up there, or is he going to feel, extremely good about this? We'll know very quickly later on today what happens in the market, what investors are feeling. Again, I think there's going to be short-term volatility, but long-term, this is all setting up for a lot more liquidity to come into Bitcoin. Absolutely bullish long-term Bitcoin. So, hey, I'm feeling good right now. I think it's a very exciting day. I don't think I've ever been this exciting to hear Jerome Powell talk, because everyone's on pins and needles waiting for this. Anyways, enough ranting for me. Bitcoin Ben, how you doing today? And what do you think of the mandate's new third, or the Fed's new third mandate?
Well, one thing, it isn't new. This is why they have to. If you look at last September, right before the election, Chairman Mao, which I like to call him, he lowered interest rates right before the presidential election. I thought we weren't supposed to do that, but never mind. What happened with long-term yields on bonds? They went up. They went up. That's not good. That's your proof that when they lower interest rates, they will have to put in controls on the long yields. Yep. Because if they don't, we blow out. And here comes the bond vigilantes. Well, that's what they're doing. They're setting up where they can block them and say, no, little vigilantes, no soup for you. And they'll lock that rate in. Now, what does that do with Bitcoin? What is the Bitcoin? It's a global actual bond. That's what it is. It's a global bond. And when you lock the rates low on every year term, that eliminates everyone's options of running to the bonds for your return. Like we have said, and a lot of us OGs, or whatever the hell you want to call us, we all knew someday that the Bitcoin would replace the bond market, which is the largest and most liquid market in the world. Look at what's happening over in Europe right now. Their bonds are getting destroyed. They are getting destroyed, which means everyone's looking at America bonds and like, well, they're ugly, but they ain't Europe. All right. So they've actually been, well, I guess we'll take some American bonds. And really, no one wants a 30-year American bond. We've actually devalued our currency 20% in the last 5 years. What's it going to be like in 30 years? No one wants these. A lot of the actual purchases are regulated purchases where they have to buy it. They have no choice. They're regulated from the government. Hey, a percentage of your allocation has to go toward bonds. Blah. Well, that is price controls, because a lot of these people, they don't want bonds. They want returns. They don't care what it is. Everyone just wants returns. It isn't like they're all like, oh, I'm so patriotic, I'm going to buy, U.S. bonds. No one's friggin' buying U.S. bonds because they love America. They're actually buying our bonds because we have the, let's just say, the tallest, let's call it midget in the room. That's us. We're all midgets. We're just the tallest one. So all of the women in the room are like, well, I guess I'll take that one. He's short, but at least he's taller. And that's where we're at. He's exactly right. Everyone, and I do mean everyone, guys, because once you eliminate the bond market as an option for all of these retirement plans and 401ks and all this other crap, once you eliminate that option where you no longer have a return that is actually free floating, you no longer want bonds. There's no appeal. It's locked in. It isn't linked with reality, which I would argue they never have been. That's why we have the Federal Reserve, is because it was created to manipulate the economy and the market. That's it. Because what they tell us is, well, their job is price stability. Really? Well, they've done a crap job at that. Hey, great job, Federal Reserve, on your number one mandate. You totally shoot the bed on that. All right. Then number two, they say, keep employment as high as possible. That's labor manipulation, also known as slavery. All right. This whole system, the Federal Reserve, and this is what Trump's doing. Everyone he's actually putting in the Federal Reserve, their job is to wind this bitch down, because Trump is rolling the power of the Federal Reserve into the Treasury Department. That's what the Genius Act did. Because now, for the first time since Federal Reserve in America, they no longer have the monopoly on money.
Yep.
And they're done. Because the Federal Reserve cannot exist unless it's a monopoly.
Yep, 100%, 100%. And I think also to like kind of connect the dots, right, Ben, because you dropped hot fire, right? First of all, we were promised as the American people back in 1913 that the Fed was going to stabilize markets. The worst depressions and recessions and world wars in United States history have all happened during the Federal Reserve. This is not speculation. This is not an opinion. This is something that I want you guys to verify. The Great Depression, 1930s, that happened after the establishment of the Federal Reserve. The Great Recession, 2008, that happened after the establishment of the Federal Reserve. World War I, coincidentally, happened a couple of years after the establishment of the Federal Reserve. World War II happened under the Federal Reserve, right? Again, lots of coincidence here, and it reminds me of the quote from Ron Paul, which is, it's not a coincidence that the bloodiest century in human history is also the century of central banking. Now, something interesting that you were talking about, Ben, which is, again, the Federal Reserve only functions with a monopoly, right? It only functions with the monopoly. So it kind of explains why they have so much hostility towards the Bitcoin industry, right? It explains it, because if you have kind of this free market competition of money, and you have Bitcoin and then you have fiat, well, who do you think's going to win there long term? Bitcoin's going to win every single time. And I think part of the reason that they denied Caitlin Long's federal banking charter is because they don't want the Bitcoin system being entrenched into the American financial system. That is very bad news for the Federal Reserve. That is very bad news for the people that have a monopoly over the control of money. So I think Ben absolutely hit the nail on the head there. To kind of double back to what Arthur Hayes is saying, this is kind of late stage central banking. At this point, they're going full, let's control prices. Let's control this. This is top-down economics. This is not capitalism. But this is the end stage. This was what was always going to happen. The massive wealth inequality that we're seeing in society, the fact that people can't afford things, it all comes down to the fact that there's a financial elite that have the godlike ability of being able to create money for free that everyone has to work for. And that system is breaking. It's unsustainable. You see Elon Musk talking about this. You saw a video of him basically saying, listen, it's unfixable. I can't fix this. I had to step away. But I hope that robots and AI are able to get us out of debt, because this is completely unsustainable. You look at the debt clock. You look at James Lavish talk about, the debt spiral. You talk about Larry Lepard talking about the big print. You talk about Lynn Alden talking about nothing stops this train. Yeah, Bitcoin is the lifeboat to get off of this, because it is unsustainable. And unfortunately, if you don't find a chair when the music stops, you're going to be in a very bad position. You're talking about potentially, a situation where, we've seen this throughout history. I don't even want to say it because it's so scary. I hope the United States doesn't go through this type of situation. But we've seen many countries that have gone through hyperinflation because of irresponsible government spending. Right? We saw Argentina. We've seen Venezuela, the famous example in Bitcoin circles, Zimbabwe, right? We've seen this over and over and over and over again, right? So, I hope, I really, really hope, because it would be ugly, that the United States doesn't go through this, and, we're able to outgrow this economically, and hopefully we're able to use Bitcoin to get out of this mess. Let's see what happens. Anyways, I do want to give a shout out to the live stream coming in hard today. 750 live viewers on YouTube alone. About 100 live viewers on Rumble, and of course, X always coming in strong. Over 1,000 live viewers on X. If you guys are enjoying today's show, make sure to smash that like button. You're listening to Simply Bitcoin Live, the most watched Bitcoin only live show on planet Earth, Monday through Friday. Smash that like button. And we got a legend in the house. Ben is a humble man, and he doesn't like to talk about his accomplishments, but I saw Ben in a suit earlier on this week when he was announcing the launch of the first Bitcoin bank. Look at this man.
We're all suit coiners now.
Look at this man launching us. Look at this. You look at Ben, you're like, no way. And I saw this and look at it. He's in shape. He looks good. He's in a suit. Wow. Anyways, it's official. I'm now the proud owner and chairman of the world's first Bitcoin-backed credit union, headquartered in El Salvador. Let's hit the bars, bro.
Yeah, listen. That's called motherfucking fucking boss.
So we're going to be talking about private key bank during the culture segment. This is a major achievement. Of course, it's happening in Bitcoin country, the great country of El Salvador. So we're going to be talking about all that. Also, we got some breaking news. Bitcoin whales continue to wake up, selling thousands of Bitcoin. And also, Saylor was seen talking to U.S. lawmakers advocating for the Bitcoin reserve bill. So lots of good stuff going on. And then we have a clip from the CEO of the world's largest crypto exchange, Brian Armstrong, which again, Coinbase, whether you like them or not, provides the custody of basically every single ETF, 11 out of the 12 ETFs. Michael Saylor's coins are with Coinbase. So when this man speaks, it's probably a good idea to hear. And he's making the claim that every G20 country is looking to buy Bitcoin for its reserves. That is a big effing statement. I can't emphasize that enough. Anyways, if you guys are enjoying the show so far, like I said, smash that like button. We got a loaded show for you guys. We got so much to cover, and we're going to be giving away some sats towards the end of the show, so you guys are going to want to stick around for that. Anyways, before we move on, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor, the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack, bitcoinwell.com. The reason we recommend bitcoinwell.com here at Simply Bitcoin is that it's automatic self-custody. They help you enable your independence. What does that mean? That means you put in your email address, takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up. Bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to buy Bitcoin. What makes Bitcoin Well different is that it's automatic self-custody. That means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, they go straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. They don't even allow you, they don't even give you the ability to leave your Bitcoin on the on-ramp. Go to bitcoinwell.com/simply to get started today. If you're a higher net worth individual looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, you have to check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. It's a tailored white glove service that helps you buy Bitcoin directly into self-custody. It's built for family offices, high net worth individuals, trusts, and organizations. Go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC to get started today. Scan the QR code on your screen or go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC and tell them that Simply Bitcoin sent you. You'll be in very good hands. All right, everybody, no more delay. Let's start the show. We'll be right back in just a bit. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on Stampseed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. All right, everybody, we are back. Scan the QR code, ladies and gentlemen, on your screen right now, and it will take you directly to stampseed.com. Use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. Stamp your seed into titanium. Don't write down your seed words on paper. Again, paper's fragile. You want your seed words to survive the test of time. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $115,700. Bitcoin has become a stable coin, and I blame Opti. Sats per dollar, 864 sats per dollar. Block height, 915,133. Realized monetary inflation, 0.84%. Market capitalization, 2.30 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 8.87%. Percentage issued, 94.86% of the Bitcoin supply has been issued. Anyways, I have a clip here of Brian Armstrong talking about the G20 nations. Now, who are the G20 nations? Let's talk about this. These are some of the most influential countries on the face of the planet. And I'm going to go through some of them. I'm going to go through all of them, actually, once I get the list, which for some reason is taking me an unreasonable amount of time. Oh, okay. I found it. Fantastic. All right. The G20 nations include Australia, Canada, Saudi Arabia, United States, India, Russia, South Africa, Turkey, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, France, Germany, Italy, United Kingdom, South Korea, Japan, Indonesia, China. So, as you could see, and look at the hugs, right? I don't know where's Opti. Opti should be in here. We got the president of Brazil, got the president of India in there. These are some very, very important countries, right? This is a big deal, right? And the fact that you have the CEO of the world's largest exchange included in the Fortune 500 Fortune 500, he said something really interesting. Let's check it out.
Yeah, well, President Trump passed this executive order creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve and then a crypto asset stockpile to hold some of these other ones as well. A lot of people don't know, but the U.S. actually holds strategic reserves of a number of different assets. So gold is probably the most famous one, but there's a bunch of other ones that they hold. Like there's an oil strategic reserve. There's like palladium. I think there's a bunch of like rare minerals, and so it's kind of a historic step where the United States government is saying, actually, we think Bitcoin is another strategic asset which should be held by the U.S. government. This would have been unthinkable, by the way, like 5 years ago, where the government was so skeptical of it, and now like the United States government is holding a stockpile of these Bitcoin assets. So that was a huge moment. It kind of, by the way, now that the U.S. is doing this, I think the rest of the G20 countries and central banks are all starting to look at this. It just kind of instantly legitimized it. And, President Trump, to his credit, he said he wants to be the first crypto president in the United States and certainly in the world. Like he's all in on this. He's like, America has to lead here. This is a technology to update the financial system and become a financial center of the world, which is important for American power. So he's kind of gone all in on it. And I think the rest of the G20 are now looking at this as a model to follow.
Man. Nice work.
That last part is where the gold is. The G20 are looking at what the Trump administration is doing, and they're seeing it as, quote, a model to follow. Those are some very, very big words. And I believe that's a big mainstream podcast. So I'm going to pass it on to Ben. Ben, I mean, we're winning, man. We're winning. This is what winning looks like. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, things didn't seem so certain. We were persecuted as an industry. We were doubted. We were made fun of. We were ridiculed. We were mocked. This is what vindication looks like. This is what winning looks like. Trump promised us at Nashville 2024 that we would get tired of winning. I would agree with him, but the price still hasn't gone up. So I'm not tired of winning yet. Bitcoin Ben, what are your thoughts on what Mr. Brian Armstrong had to say?
Well, I, number one, would argue the price has actually gone up, because when I initially bought it, it was $600 a Bitcoin. Now it's 118 or 16 or whatever the hell. Price has gone up a little bit. And I also, all right, we have an example of what's going on right now. in the 1970s, when they actually took us off of the gold, we had an example of exactly what we have right now. We switched from gold to the petrodollar. Now, right before we switched to the petrodollar, we had an oil shortage. This was not an oil shortage. There was plenty of oil produced. What happened was there was an oil hodl. There were countries all over the world that knew that the US dollar was about to be repriced in oil. So they hodled the oil. And at that time, we really didn't have an oil reserve. We had oil production, but we didn't have oil reserves. That's what launched the whole oil reserve idea was, damn, we need to hodl some oil ourselves. And that's what we're going through right now, except instead of oil, we're going to roll it into the Bitcoin. That's what Trump's transition is that's why we've heard Trump say that the Bitcoin is the new oil. That's what he's referring to. And everyone out there is like, oh, the price hasn't gone up on Bitcoin that much. Guys, right before the oil hodl, oil was cheap, and it didn't really fluctuate much. And then the great oil hodl of the 70s shot it up to ridiculous prices. And that's on an unlimited supply commodity. We're dealing with a fixed supply commodity, as they label it. We're in a whole different world, folks. You think $110,000 or whatever the hell it's at right now is high? Guys, it's the same actual Bitcoin. It actually takes 110,000 pieces of crappy paper to purchase one digital Bitcoin. It hasn't changed. It's the same friggin' Bitcoin. What's changed is the purchasing power of the dollar. This is why right now, and this happened in the transition with oil, is so many people were like, oh man, I'm gonna sell oil futures because I want those dollars. Yeah, they did. They sold oil futures and they made dollars. And then we created the petrodollars, and those actual dollars were devalued. What we have right now, everyone who's like, oh man, I can't wait for the piece of paper value to go up in Bitcoin. And this happens with every single currency change. The wealthy, the rich, the people in the know front run the currency change. And they actually buy the good currency. That's what Michael Saylor's doing. That's what all of the countries are doing. That's what Trump is. He's selling his own currency to buy a new currency. Here's a great point. Guess what we do not hold in reserves in America? US dollars. Doesn't that say something? That the federal government does not hold US dollars in their strategic reserves. What does that mean? They know it ain't worth crap because they make it, they print it, It's little pieces of wood. All right. That's all it is. Well, actually, our currency is more cotton than wood, but you know what I mean. They're selling their own junk currency to buy real currency. And this is what's going on right now. So everyone, and like I said, this happens with every single currency change. The wealthy see it coming. The government sees it coming. They actually build reserves. That's what Michael Saylor's doing. He's building a reserve. That's what Nakamoto's doing. They're building reserves. Everyone is building reserves. Well, what's a reserve for? A reserve is for when shit changes. That's what a reserve is for. And what I'm afraid of is we're actually going to hit a level where one friggin' Bitcoin is worth 250,000 little pieces of toilet paper, and the average Joe and average Jane are going to sell their actual Bitcoin and go, look at all these pieces of paper, little pieces of toilet paper I got. Woo woo, I'm rich. Because they have a mindset that they think the dollar has value. And it doesn't. It's collapsing. We have a great example of what's going on right now, this very moment, Weimar Germany. Did you know at the end of the Weimar Republic collapse, their stock market hit record highs. The price of gold in their currency hit record highs. And then they went into hyperinflation. That's right where we're at. And you want to talk about inflation, guys? The Genius Act is actually genius because they are creating treasury inflation. That's completely different from currency deflation, because when treasury inflation happens, that is recapitalizing the federal government, because the treasury bonds, remember, the Genius Act requires that anybody who's wanting to send out their own coin, and don't think it's only banks. Walmart will buy treasuries. Home Depot will buy treasuries. All of these large see, the bank I run is going to buy treasuries so we can issue our own stable coin. This is all good news, because what we are doing is we are returning to private banking of America from 1920 until about 1968-ish. Well, actually 1964 if you want to get technical, but or 1864. 1820 to about 1863-ish. And that was known as the private banking era. We had 7,000 different currencies here in America in that period, because there was private banking. All of the banks had to compete for capital. And that's how you have a true free market. And that's what we are going to again. That's why Trump is here's a little hint on what Trump's doing. Hey, yo, Nico, hop on here real quick.
Yo.
Let me ask you a question. What is the first European country to announce they are creating a reserve of the Bitcoin?
I don't know. What is the first European coin?
Ukraine.
Oh.
They announced it last week. And they announced it right after Zelensky returned home from America at the White House. Trump basically told him, look, the war's over. You're done. You have a choice. You keep playing your progressive games with NATO, or we help you to actually make Ukraine great again. And as soon as they announced that they're launching a reserve of the Bitcoin, I knew it. Voila. That war is over. We're done. It's just all we got to do is wrap a little bow around it. And that's what Putin and Zelensky are going to do. Now, where is Trump right now? Bingo. Ukraine introduces bill to allow it's written on the wall, guys. It's right there. All right. And now, where is Trump at right now? He's over in the UK. What was announced yesterday? That the US and the UK have agreed on terms on crypto relationship. Let me tell you what's going to happen. UK had Brexit. Trump is going to allow them to launch their own stable coin with the reserves, U.S. Treasury reserves. All right. Oh, and I can actually talk about this all day long, because what really happened, if you want to know what really happened over in the UK today, the king transferred authority over to Trump. Those of you who think that sounds crazy, you don't know bloodlines. All right, Trump was invited to Windsor Castle. Windsor Castle is the home of the bloodline of the royals. And Trump was presented the royal guard. And Trump walked through and was walked through the royal guard, presenting the guard to Trump. And where was the king? Walking behind Trump like a lost little puppy. All right. Yes. And also, oh, no, keep on playing that. Hopefully it should. All right, look at all of the horses. What color are the horses you're seeing? They're all black, right? All right. Now you're starting to see white horses. All right. If you know royals and how much they are huge on presentation and huge on the official way to do things. Plus, Trump is riding in what is, yes, all right. This is the old king transferring authority of the royal guard to Trump. Look up history, all right? This is why Trump said earlier this year, hey, Canada, why don't we make you the 51st state? This is what he was hinting at, because what he's actually going to do is he's going to relieve Canada from its obligation to the Queen. You guys might think I'm crazy. Here, look this up. Putin's gift to Trump's wife in Alaska because no one knows her bloodline. I swear, guys, I am not bullshitting you. Look up and bring it up. What gift did Putin give Trump's wife in Alaska? It's a ring. It's a Romanov royal ring. It's priceless. There's only one. Bam, right there. All right. There's only one. And who wears the Romanov royal ring? The Queen. That's it. All right. Him giving her that ring was recognizing her bloodline and giving her the authority of the Romanov dynasty. I know it sounds crazy, guys, but I am a history nut.
This is I love having Bitcoin Ben on the show, taking us down the rabbit holes of the rabbit holes, connecting the dots. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I did notice, Ben, I'm not as educated on a lot of these topics as you are, but I did notice the fact that and this is royal protocol, everybody, by the way. Usually the king or the queen is supposed to step ahead of the foreign dignitary, and that was not the case this morning. And I did notice that. I can't speak towards the other things, Ben, because again, I'm not really educated on the matter, but I did notice that, and I found it quite interesting. I'm going to pull up a picture. I did find that quite interesting. And again, just kind of the introduction that they were like, you see, Trump is clearly walking in front.
All right, hang on 1 second. All right, watch right there. All right, pause it. All right, the guy on the right of Trump, he's the head royal guard. He's like the head honcho of the royal guard. Now, mind you, this is not the military. This is the royal guard. Their job is to actually guard the king and the queen. That's it. And that guy on the right is actually doing a ceremony that is presenting the royal guard to the new king. It is actually called passing of the guard. And just like you said, he's walking behind him. That kings do not walk behind anybody. That's a big no-no.
Again, I'm not as well versed in all this, but I will say that I do know about this. It is a very big no-no for the American president to walk in front of the king. And Ben, maybe you're connecting dots that the rest of us do not see. But I did notice that. I did notice that as soon as you pointed it out, and I will play this video one more time. I don't think I have not seen.
All right.
I have not
There's
seen
a white horse and a black horse right there, right? The white horse was on the same side as Trump was in the carriage. That white horse represented Trump because Trump's bloodline is actually known as the white horse bloodline. I can go deep. I can go as deep as you want with this, brother. Grab your shovel. We will go deep.
All right, everybody, we're going to move on to the next segment, but this is again, we're connecting dots. You guys don't trust, verify, do your own research. Yeah, Ben, I think you've been pointing out some things that, again, not a lot of us have noticed, and not a lot of us have seen. But as you can see, Trump is getting escorted. I think this is one of the royal carriages. I don't think I've ever seen an American president given those types of honors, right? And again, again, this image right here where President Trump is walking in front of the king. Maybe there's something there. Maybe we're reading too much into it. But guys, do your own research. Don't trust, verify. And you guys got to tune into Ben's show where he does deep dives into a lot of this stuff. Anyways, guys, we're going to hit the news segment. We have tons to talk about today. You guys are going to want to stay tuned and smash that like button. We're going to be right back in just a bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
All right, everybody, we are back. Powell, what time is it? It's time to pump.
We got like 15 minutes.
It's time to pump.
Well, it did pump while Ben was talking, and now it just dumped.
It's time to pump our bags, Mr. Powell. It's time to pump our bags. That's what time it is. Anyways, I do want to go through these news stories very quickly, and then I want to move on to the culture segment. We're going to be talking to Bitcoin Ben about private key bank in El Salvador. Anyways, Bitcoin whale awakens after 12 years, transfers 1,000 BTC before U.S. Fed meeting. It goes on to say a long dormant Bitcoin whale moved $116 million worth of cryptocurrency after 12 years, just before the U.S. Federal Reserve closely watched interest rate decision. The unknown whale woke up after 12 years of dormancy to transfer 1,000 BTC, worth around $116 million at current prices, which he initially acquired for $847 per coin. The BTC was worth around $847,000 at the time, which the whale hodled for over a decade before transferring it to new wallets on Wednesday. For over $100 million transfer occurred shortly before Wednesday's upcoming Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC meeting, a highly anticipated event that may deliver the first U.S. interest rate cut of the year. Market watchers are calling the Fed's decision one of the most significant of the year, with 96% of the participants anticipating a 25 basis points cut. Tomorrow is the most important FOMC of our lives until the next one, said the founder and CEO of Into the Cryptoverse, very popular crypto YouTube channel. Over 57% of Bitcoin hodlers across all exchanges are currently short, meaning that they are betting on Bitcoin's price decline, while only 42% remain long, according to blockchain data from CoinAnk. Meanwhile, Bitcoin futures open interest fell by over 2 billion in 5 days, signaling more de-risking amid future tradings ahead of the FOMC meeting. Cointelegraph reported on Monday. Still, traders on the world's largest exchange, Binance, have been buying Bitcoin ahead of the key interest rate decision. It goes on to say, Binance saw 9 days of constructive outflows for Bitcoin leading up to the FOMC meeting, a trend that appears to be a major driver behind Bitcoin's recent bounce from 108K to 115K. Analysts at Bank of America expect at least 2 interest rate cuts by the Fed in 2025, September and November, while economists at Goldman Sachs are projecting 3 25 basis points cuts for this year. Cointelegraph reported on September 6th. It goes on to say, another article, U.S. lawmakers tap Saylor Lee to advance Bitcoin reserve bill. That's right. Michael Saylor was in Washington, D.C. with Tom Lee, among 18 other industry leaders who look at ways to pass the Bitcoin Act. U.S. lawmakers are to meet with 18 crypto industry executives, including strategy chairman Michael Saylor, on Tuesday, so this happened yesterday, to discuss how Congress can move forward with President Donald Trump's strategic Bitcoin reserve. Those in attendance will also include Fundstrat's CEO Tom Lee, who is also chairman of Bitmine, as well as Mara CEO Fred Thiel, according to crypto advocacy group The Digital Chambers, which shared the full list with Cointelegraph on Monday. The industry executives are looking to build momentum behind the Bitcoin Act, a measure introduced by Senator Cynthia Lummis in March that calls on the government to acquire 1 million Bitcoin. The purchases would be funded through the Federal Reserve and the Department of Treasury, with Trump's executive order stating that it must be financed through budget-neutral strategies. The roundtable will be hosted by the Digital Chambers and its affiliate, the Digital Power Network. The Bitcoin Act could be the next major focus for lawmakers on crypto legislation, following their efforts to pass the Genius Act stablecoin bill in July. Bitcoiners pitch ideas, seek answers. The Bitcoin industry executive will pitch ideas around how the U.S. could fund these Bitcoin purchases without impacting taxpayers. Quote, the focus will be on ensuring the strategic Bitcoin reserve is advanced in a budget-neutral way, building the coalition needed to move the Bitcoin Act forward. Among the budget-neutral strategies that have been floated so far are the reevaluation of the Treasury's gold certificates and the tariff revenue. They will also seek to learn what has stalled momentum with the Bitcoin Act over the last 6 months and what the biggest objections to the bill are among lawmakers. Bitcoin miners, VC, bankers, to also meet with lawmakers. Several Bitcoin mining executives will attend the roundtable as well, including CleanSpark executive Matt Schultz, and I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry, Mara's Jason Browder, and BitDeer's Harris Bassett. Executives from crypto-focused venture capital firms Off the Chain Capital and Reserve One will be in attendance, as will Andrew McCormick, the head of investment platforms for eToro's U.S. business. TradFi representatives who will take a seat at the table at the round table will include Western Alliance Bank's David Fragile and Blue Square's Wealth Jay Bluestein. So anyways, lots of breaking news. Michael Saylor in Washington, D.C., trying to get the Bitcoin Act passed. The Bitcoin Act, again, is an act introduced by Senator Cynthia Lummis to get the United States government to buy 1 million Bitcoin. Michael Saylor has famously said that the first country to use their fiat money printer to buy Bitcoin is going to win. And I agree with that. In other news, it seems like all that the so-called lost Bitcoin isn't so lost. It appears that these dormant addresses that have been, long since believed to have been lost, all this Bitcoin, they seem to be waking up. Now that Bitcoin is at $115,000 per coin, and that seems to be contributing to a lot of the downward sell pressure. Anyways, that wraps up the news segment for today. We're going to go straight into the culture. The show is running a little bit long today, and I do want to give Bitcoin Ben the time to talk about Private Key Bank. So we're going to be right back in just a bit. But before we do that, I do want to give a shout out to Mining Disrupt in Dallas, Texas, November 11th through the 13th, 2025. It's going to be about Bitcoin mining, AI, and energy. Again, hashtag Opti's going back to Dallas. You want to get your tickets now. It's November 11th through the 13th of 2025. You can scan the QR code on your screen right now, give you a discount on your tickets. The whole the Simply Bitcoin crew will be there. Rustin, Opti, myself, we're going to have a booth. We're going to be doing interviews from the floor. You are not going to want to miss Mining Disrupt in Dallas, Texas, November 11th through the 13th. 2025. If you're interested about AI, if you're interested about Bitcoin mining, if you're interested about energy, you are not going to want to miss this Bitcoin mining conference. Again, Dallas, Texas, November 11th through the 13th. If you use the QR code or check the link in the video description, you will get a discount on your tickets. We'll see you guys in Dallas, Texas very, very soon. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture. We're going to be talking to Bitcoin Ben about Private Key Bank and all of Bitcoin Ben's famous worldwide ventures. We're going to be right back in just a second.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEdigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitcoinBen.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, everybody, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. It is almost time, Opti. Why'd you stop? Why'd you do that?
I thought that was from last.
It is almost time, ladies and gentlemen. Drum roll, please. We got 3 minutes until the announcement. You play something on the soundboard?
I am so excited.
I don't know if I got anything.
We got 3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm so happy the lead communist is about to actually tell us what the price of money is. Thank God for Chairman Mao.
Yo.
We're going to find out in 2 minutes what Jerome Powell is going to say. Again, the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Very interesting name there. I don't think it was a coincidence. But anyways, we got Bitcoin Ben in the house joining us today. Bitcoin Ben is a rock star, ladies and gentlemen. He is the CEO of the world's first Bitcoin bank in El Salvador. I'm going to show you guys a picture. That's right. Bitcoin Ben was in a suit, ladies and gentlemen. This is not fake news. This is real. We saw him in a suit. I freaked out when I initially saw it because I said, "Oh my God, this can't be real." And Ben, you're in shape. Look at that. You're in shape. You're in a suit. You look professional. And he is now the proud owner and chairman of the world's first Bitcoin-backed credit union, headquartered in El Salvador. So, Ben, could you talk a little bit about Private Key Bank?
Yes, actually, it is. I'm renaming it Private Key Capital because opportunities have arisen. I didn't really grasp let's just say I bought a credit union kind of on impulse because someone said, "Hey, I have a credit union. Would you like to buy it?" And I was like, "Sure, why not? Hell with it." And now I know the opportunity that arise owning and running this credit union. And it's larger than I originally thought. We can offer bonds, and when you hold your savings, because this is available worldwide, that's why I bought it, because it has worldwide licensing. Worldwide. And that's why I bought it, because we can actually offer our services to Americans, to Australians, to everyone on the world. And what that allows us to do is set up your savings account like you are mining actual Bitcoin. Oh, surprise, surprise. Thank you, Chairman Mao.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's official.
Breaking news. It's official. The Fed has cut by 25 basis points, which was what it was to be expected. It's also expected that the Fed is going to cut 25 basis points 2 more times heading towards the end of the year.
The price right now, 1 minute charge
is going crazy. But Ben, please continue. Please continue regarding Private Key Bank. Just breaking news.
Oh yeah, this is why we need private banks. This is why we need to rip the control out of the Federal Reserve. And how you do that is, this might sound weird, you open a bank, but you hold your reserves in not what the old system held it in, which was like treasury bonds and bullshit like that, which I will hold some treasury bonds so we can launch our stablecoin and lending. Now, the real reason I launched this is I'm for the average Joe. All right. I don't worry about Michael Saylor. I don't worry about wealthy people at all. They will take care of themselves. They will roll over all of their capital, get into Bitcoin, and just have smooth sailing. No one's going to worry about the price of eggs over at Michael Saylor's house. All right. What I want is what America used to be, and we can have it again because of American Bitcoin industry. What a lot of people don't look at is they're like, ooh, you know, price go up. Look at the industry. In the 1800s, when we had the California gold rush, everyone says, oh man, the gold rush was awesome. Yes, everyone was trying to get as much gold as possible. But who actually made the money? Those who sold the shovels, the Levi's of the world. That's what I am creating. And I don't want Michael Saylor owning a piece of my credit union. I don't want Michael Saylor owning a piece of my mining company. I want average Joes, average Janes, because we're reaching a price right now, and this is not saying anything negative. We're reaching a price where the average Joe and the average Jane rolling their money into actual Bitcoin, they receive a certain amount of actual Bitcoin. The number they own never goes up. What actually goes up is the amount of US dollars that it actually takes to purchase that amount of actual Bitcoin. You're getting poorer in terms of the Bitcoin because the old currency is actually, it is dying. What he just announced is, hey guys, we're going to let a little bit more blood out of your body.
Metaphorically.
All right, because currency is the blood of a nation, or in the case of actual Bitcoin, of the globe. This is the blood of the future economic system. And I don't want the CEO of BlackRock running and creating our new global monetary system. I don't want the elites of the old system just rolling into the new one like they own the joint. I want the people to own the infrastructure. So does Trump. That's why he announced that 401ks can now hold Bitcoin. Because what he's trying to do is recapitalize the middle class and lower class. Because when this legislation is passed, we're off to the races. We're off to the races right now. We just don't realize, like you guys said earlier, wow, there's a whale who's actually moving their, that's not a whale. That is an organization who actually purchased some Bitcoin earlier once they realized what was happening, and they held it for ammunition for this time. Price suppression. Guys, we are not, the elite are at war with us. And we think that they're just living their lives and just going along. Why did the CEO of BlackRock, who I could argue and bring receipts is probably one of the most evil.
Okay. Wait, did the camera die?
I got it.
Yeah, I think it wasn't plugged in. Yes. I'm gonna turn on the FaceTime. There you go. Boom. Woof.
You got the green screen going on, brother. And now he's muted. The gremlins are out. Well, while we're waiting on Nico to get his shit together, I'm going to hijack this. No, and I won't say nothing bad, Nico. It's the elites of the old system are literally trying to capture the new system because they know what we know. It's unstoppable. This train is unstoppable. You can hate the Bitcoin. You can wish it didn't exist. You can wish all you want. BlackRock knows what Bitcoin is. The elites know exactly what it, and they've held it off as long as they can. And that's why Trump is over in the UK right now. And that's why all of the influencers and important people in the Bitcoin industry are in Washington. It's why Ukraine announced they're going to launch a Bitcoin reserve. Did anyone have it in the cards that Ukraine would be the first European country to announce a strategic reserve of Bitcoin? What changed their mind? Because remember, who was Zelensky's favorite American? Sleepy Joe Biden. Exactly. Who was Joe Biden our friend? Did they love cryptos? Did they love the Bitcoin? No, they were our enemy. So just a month ago, Zelensky was not a friend of this industry. Then he swings over to the White House, has a little ass whooping from Trump, put over the knee, slapped on the ass.
Metaphorical ass whooping. Ben, I do want to focus. We are getting to the top of the hour. I want to focus on Private Key Bank. Ben, where could people find out more information about Private Key Bank, about Bitcoin Ben Ventures? Where can they find out more about it if they want to sign up to the bank? Again, the world's first Bitcoin native bank. Where do they go?
God, that shows my age. www.bitcoinben.io. And if you're interested in owning a piece of a mining company, you can call us because
call that number in the back. In the back, it's written right there. Yep.
I want you to own part of an American mining company. And it isn't about the money with me. It isn't about the money. It's about the freedom. We need to decentralize freedom. The elite have plenty of freedom, guys. They are just full of freedom and full of other things. What we've lost is our freedom. How do we get it back? We actually put the production of the greatest monetary representation ever created by man or recognized by man. We own the mining facilities of this new globe.
Beautiful.
Right. So if you're interested in owning a piece of my mining company with me, give us a call, because I'm actually going to do a call this Friday. You call that number, you can actually get a link to that call with me and ask all the questions you want about our bank, our mining facility, our clubs, whatever.
Go check out, guys, go check out bitcoinben.io. Check out the number behind him. You can get a piece of it. You could purchase a piece of his mining company. It's always a great time to have Bitcoin Ben on the show, dropping some insights, guys. Do your own research, don't trust, verify, look into all this stuff. I'm sure it's a very, very deep rabbit hole. But I did notice some things that Ben was talking about. You did have Trump walking in front of the king. I thought that was that was very interesting, very symbolic, to say the least. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed today's show, guys, we're out of time, so we're going to be giving away double the giveaway tomorrow during the Simply Bitcoin live show. But we're already at an hour 30. If you guys enjoyed today's show, make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe. And I'm your host, Nico. Is my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields. Our special guest for today, Bitcoin Ben. He is, again, the founder of BitcoinBen.io Worldwide Ventures. They have resorts, they have clubs, they have a bank now. It's fantastic. Go check out BitcoinBen.io. Guys, we love you all, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.